probably get going. I think we have a couple slides before she's up.
Sure. Sounds good. Thanks, Kayla. Welcome, everyone, to our MOTS EDI webinar. The focus will be on EDI, electronic data interchange. As you all might be well aware of, that we try to focus a little more on EDI 1 month, and then the next month we are focusing more on using the web portal and the client entry tool. But today the focus will be on EDI, so you'll be hearing a lot from Jody because she's definitely our specialist. So we are doing this now in Teams. We used to do GoToMeeting, but we changed it, and hope you're all getting a little familiar with Teams. It's a little different, but it has similar things. It has the panel where you can mute, unmute, and there's a chat box. So if you have any questions or issues, just pop them in there, and hopefully during the presentation we can answer those questions or bring them to the floor and maybe discuss among people and see if we have any experts that we can answer the questions that you might have. So see, everybody's still coming, so I'm gonna chat a little bit about the agenda that's coming up next. So Kayla, if you can kind of just flip to the next one, great. And as you can see, it's a pretty busy agenda. We have 14 items. We start with a little team introductions. We thought it might be nice for you guys to put a face to the name. The other thing we're going to talk about why we do this. A little general news update. There's some business changes that Mary's going to talk about. And of course, the main thing, roads is coming. There's always the nice thing about Teams, things keep popping up. So roads is coming. If you have any issues with logging into your SFTP tool, Jody will be explaining issues. She will be talking about results files. And if you need any data from MOTS, Anna is the go-to person. We always said Justin is the go-to person, but Justin is moving on and doing other work, different work, and he's always available to help out and give great advice. But Anna is our go-to reports person from now on for MOTS and for roads as well. Troubleshooting EDI is also Jody. And we have another monthly webinar, which is called the MOTS Refresher. And Kayla has set that up, and she is available for an hour every second Wednesday of the month. And you can sign up for that, join that. And is it also from 9 to 10 or is it 10 to 11? I'm not 100%
That one's 10
sure
to 11.
That's 10 to 11. Okay, so if you need a refresher or you have new people coming in or you have been handed on over the tool to work with MOTS, and you are not really 100% sure of certain things, or you want to make sure why everybody's been doing it this way because it feels kind of funky, because these things happen, that you are in an organization that MOTS is handed down from person to person, and responsibilities kind of are handed on from people who have different responsibilities, and sometimes things go a little awry, and then maybe a little refresher can turn things around and make things a lot easier for everybody. Also, the last one before the Q&A is, of course, switching from CE to EDI. It's kind of a standard that we have in there that Jody will be talking about, because it's one of those things that people keep doing, and it's important to know the basics, and it's important that you understand why it's so important to us. So that's always in there, and it's not just from CE to EDI, but from one EDI to another. A lot of the steps are similar. So, and Jody will definitely be talking about that. Okay, Kayla, let's show the pictures, or sort of. There we go. And as you can see, first one is Kayla Kameli, our MOTS system administrator, and she's also the roads product owner. That means she's basically the system administrator for the new system and will be transitioning from and with the system into the new system. Cecilia, with the beautiful flowers and a beautiful dress, showing that is our MOTS support specialist, and hopefully in the future will be our roads support specialist. And the next one is me on the coast, and I was there this weekend, so I'm still trying to catch up on the mail, and it's I'm the MOTS Senior Systems Analyst, but not just MOTS. I'm also the General Compass Senior Systems Analyst, and I also work a lot with the Behavioral Health Data Warehouse. The next picture is Mary, another MOTS support specialist. And of course, everybody knows Jody, our EDI technical expert, and sharing the responsibility with Kayla is the big task of driving the whole new roads system to come. She's also the roads product owner. Justin King was and still is MOTS report specialist, and he is transitioning into a research analyst and more. I think it's the measure 110 that he's more focusing on, and more other reports that we might need for our Compass team. He is currently on a wonderful cruise, I've been told, on the Mexican Riviera. So I'm pretty sure he's not thinking about us, but we'll be thinking of him. So, and of course, the new girl on the block is Anna Melcher, our MOTS and hopefully in the future roads report specialist and data analyst. That is just a quick overview of the current MOTS team that we have, and there's also other people available and helping us out. So, okay, why do we do this? Well, I kind of hinted at that we want to give information on changes and enhancements. MOTS is not going to change anymore. MOTS is pretty sure set, and but changes and enhancement of the new systems to come we might be talking about. We'd like to still to discuss the data issues. There are still things that happen that need attention sometimes, and sometimes a new measure comes out and people are wondering how that's going to affect the data that we're getting. So we love to use this medium and this hour to talk about that. Your feedback is always the perfect place for it, and it's also great to get any ideas for future webinar topics. If there are certain procedures, processes that you are questioning or you would like to have explained better, or maybe discuss, like, isn't there a better way or easier way or quicker way of doing things? So that we'd love to hear that from you, and then we can discuss it in these webinars. So, and as I mentioned earlier, answer any of the questions that you might have on any of the MOTS or any of the other systems that we'll be talking about in a little bit. And that's it. Next one. News update. Yes, this is the news update that we did to kind of inform everybody a little more about the whole what we're doing as a Compass team. One of the new systems that's coming up for the certification and licensing, that CLICS or CLICS, should be ready to go in mid-March. So that will be very helpful, because then we get more structure in all the certification and licensing, because there's been several different systems that have been kind of quirky and in change and in processing all the time. But hopefully around mid-March, and I said always mid-March-ish, because we know how these things go with automation project. They might run a little bit longer. So the good news is the BHDW, the Behavioral Health Data Warehouse, is live. And most of you probably haven't noticed it that much, but we are trying very hard within our organization, because we're still keeping it internal. But you might have been asking for information or reports, and we might have been pulling them from the Behavioral Health Data Warehouse. So it is live. We are working on training as many people as we can. And I mean that's still internally, setting up the rights for everybody to the different parts and bits and pieces. So, but it's looking pretty good, and we have had some good response so far. So the MOTS replacement road system, the Resilient Outcomes Analysis and Data Submission System, is preparing for sprint number 3. That's, for those of you not familiar, that's kind of how the agile development worked. We used to have an old system, or a system called Waterfall, when everything was designed to the T and then was given to an IT team, and they would build something, and then we start looking at it several months later. But nowadays we do it more in sprints. We give small chunks, small pieces. They're working on it. We get it back. We do the next sprint. We try to see what was working and what it wasn't working, and try to get that into the next sprint, plus some new things, and slowly build on it, but in a lot more flexible way than the old waterfall that we used to do. And then the MOTS support and the roads emails have been changed. And you might have noticed that some of our emails are changing as well. The whole state setup has been changed from the .state.or.us. It's all going to be Oregon.gov, and some have OHA, some DHS, and some have ODHS/OHA.Oregon.gov, as you can see, for the MOD support and for the roads. And all of us are also getting the .Oregon.gov. And you might not even notice it, but maybe one day you'll be looking at it and you'll see, oh, it is Oregon.gov now. So it should be very easy and smooth transition that you probably don't even notice. But for the new emails, just as an FYI. Okay, thank you. And then we go to the next slide, which is Mary, business changes. Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, thanks, Pete. So as we all know, business change is constant, and we just want to make sure that we're kept up to date on the changes that are going on in your organization. So if your MOTS contact information has changed, and especially the reports that are sent out monthly to the primary contact, we'd like to know that. If you have access to log into MOTS and you're a user, you can see if you can, the contact information is when you first log in, you might see some tabs up front that say home or EDI. If you see a tab that says admin, if you can click onto that and select the one that says maintenance, they'll probably say agency maintenance, and it'll bring you to the profile page for the agency. You can see the address that we have for your business. If you scroll down further, you'll see the contacts, the information that we have for the contacts, and especially the primary contact, which is very important. And scroll down even further, you might see facilities. You would see all the facilities that are linked to your agency. And when you click on a facility, it'll bring you to the facility profile page, which is also similar to the agency profile page, and it also has address for the facility and the contacts for that facility. So just be aware that primary contact is the person that receives the monthly reports. If you need, for some reason, for a user to have access to the MOTS portal, you can email us and we'll send you a link to a form to request a new P number for somebody, or maybe somebody's left. You can use that form also to let us know that they have left and we need to deactivate their number. And then we also have a sign up to welcome to MOTS event. I believe Kayla is talking about that later on in this presentation. And I think the link to the Welcome to MOTS event is in the last newsletter that we sent to you. And also about your business, do you have more than one facility that you need to report? Just let us know and we can assist you in creating a new facility in MOTS, or you just may have just one facility to report all events from all facilities in one place. But yes, business changes. It seems like we're changing in MOTS over to roads. We've got a lot of changes going on, and I'm sure it's the same with your agencies. So we just like to be kept abreast of those changes. So I'll just turn it back over to Pete.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, it's always nice to stay informed. So the next item on the agenda is Kayla, roads is coming. Is that the same as winter is coming? Sounds a bit ominous, but
It does sound ominous, but it really shouldn't, because it's not going to be scary. My name is Kayla Camelli. I am the MOTS system administrator right now, and also one of the roads product owners. Roads is coming. We are working on roads very diligently, as we have been for the past it feels like longer than 6 or 8 months, but I'm betting it's about 6 to 8 months now. We are currently in sprint 3, is how we've been breaking up the work in this new style of development. We're working on the internal portal right now, which is why we haven't had much to share with providers, because we haven't built the external portal yet. But I'm really lobbying to give you all a sneak peek into what we're doing, so that at least your eyes can see it and may just get familiar with the layout at this point. But we will be maybe Q2, I think, is the goal, to build a presentation so folks can see it. But as of right now, just keep doing what you're doing, sending info to MOTS as you've been doing. All training and updates regarding when roads will go live will come from us. So you'll get that information likely in many forms. We'll talk about it in the webinar. We'll talk about it in Welcome to MOTS events. We'll talk about it in the messenger. We don't want that to be a surprise for anyone, because we're really doing our best to let folks know early, so that nobody feels that this change is coming out of the blue. We want to make sure that folks have enough time to get prepared, and we do our due diligence to develop training materials and options and opportunities for folks to learn the new system. So I just saw a question about how many sprints there were. That's a great question. And I can find that answer for you, Pamela. I don't have it off the top of my head, because it's broken down into releases, and then under releases there's sprints. So I can find that for you and let you know. But that's about it for me for this slide. So I'm going to hand it back. Oh, is that Jody?
Yeah, I took a stab at answering, so hopefully that maybe makes a little sense on that sprint question, and maybe you can add to it.
3 releases before go live. Yeah, so it's, and I don't know, I'd have to look at our map, our roadmap, for if there's the same amount of sprints per release, but we can definitely let folks know that.
Yeah, hopefully we get that session you were talking about, so that we can show them these things too.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I hope we get the go ahead. Yeah, soon.
Yes.
thank you, Kayla. And we heard Jody already, and she's going to be talking about, and if you have any trouble logging into SFTP, go ahead, Jody.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Yeah, good morning, everybody, and thanks for being here as usual, and welcome to all the new people. I know I've been interacting with new people regarding this topic, and a few others. So one of the things that you all do, with the exception of the folks that have Dr. Cloud, you don't actually log into this, so you can kind of just listen along. But for those that are using the other systems, you log into our server that MOTS communicates with in order to submit your EDI files to MOTS, for MOTS to pick up and process, and then for MOTS to return your results file the next day. MOTS processes files and communicates with this SFTP server on a daily basis, and so you put things in there by 9 o'clock at night, and it processes, and then you get your results files in the morning when you return to work. So sometimes you're not able to connect. So, when you can't connect, what are the first things to kind of think about? Number one issue is usually that your password has expired. And when I say your password, your organization's password. So for the SFTP, there's a login for your organization and then a password that changes about every 90 days, give or take. So when this happens and you can't log in, the first thing to suspect is that password. So send an email to MOTS support and or myself. What we will do is we will make sure that we get your password reset. We will send you out some instructions, and the password will be emailed to the person that requested it from us. Myself and Pete, we actually are the two that can, on our team, that can reset these. So one of the two of us is usually here, and if not, you might have to wait a day or so. But typically, we try to get to these first thing. They are more of a priority, I'll be honest. When I'm scanning my emails in between meetings, I'm looking for SFTP somewhere in your subject line. So if you do have a problem with it, make sure you put SFTP in there somewhere because that catches my eye. Those are what I consider a high priority request. So once you get the instructions and the password is going to be sent to the requester, what we want you to do is just to confirm that you can now access the server, see your folders, see your results files, see the information in there. When you get the password, it is good and ready to go. So you don't have to reset it again. I mix them up as I make them. And so you don't have to do anything else with that. Now, if you get back to us and you're like, that didn't work, then we're going to take some next steps on troubleshooting because sometimes there may have been an update to the software that you're using for your sending your files back and forth, like FileZilla is one, Core, FTP, Microsoft has a tool. And so sometimes you might have gotten a new laptop or a new computer or something. So we'll do deeper troubleshooting, but more than 9 times out of 10, it's the password. So, definitely follow these steps. Kayla did a beautiful job. I got to give credit for the PowerPoint presentation here. I had a bunch of words, and this looked very beautiful. So thank you, Kayla. If there are any questions that you ever do have around this, you can always email MOTS support and myself, and we'll help you out. So with that, Pete, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Jody. Yes, and Jody is always very good on top of changing passwords. So whenever your 90 days come up, she tries to be ahead of that and updates them and send you the new one. So you're not running into the problem of the password isn't working or it has been expired. So
I try to, Pete. I will own the fact that with the roads project, I've gotten a little behind at times, but I apologize to any of those of you that have waited a little longer. But yes, I do try to be proactive. So thank you for that, Pete.
You're welcome. Now I know it's all very busy with the new system coming up. So, and Tasha asked about, are we getting informed about demos coming up? Definitely. As soon as we have something to show, we'll let everybody know. And we are always trying to be well ahead of the curve and make sure that everybody has the information. And we try our different routes that we have. So, but getting back to that, that's why it's so important that you have your information in your agency and facility profile as up to date as possible with the contacts and all that information, so that the emails with the announcement of demos or any interaction that we would like to have with the organizations, that we have the right email to send the stuff through. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing, just real quick, Pete, for those,
Sure.
this was asked, for those that may not have been around or been able to attend the ones that were back in September, August, September-ish, we will let you know typically at least 3 weeks. I think is what we tried to plan the last time. But then we also had multiple sessions, so we won't just do a one and done. we would have multiple ones so that you'd have some to, to pick from that hopefully fit your schedule. I'm good.
Excellent.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Well, you're not good. You're great. And you're going to talk about
Well,
results files. Yay. Go ahead, Jody.
Okay, so we have been getting some, requests into MOTS support and myself, with, you're processing your files, you're doing your weekly thing or whatever your cadence is for submitting them. And sometimes you get, error messages back that you're just like, what is going on? Like, I've checked everything in my system. I didn't change anything since the last time, why am I having this problem? So we kind of wanted to go over one example because the results files, besides just saying what is oh, hey, we have a problem, there's usually more detail that you get provided in that results file. So in this example, a results file came back, and
Just a sec,
this
Jody.
client, yes?
Jody, somebody is typing. Whoever is typing, please mute your microphone. It's kind of a,
I can fix it.
okay.
Or maybe
Yeah.
it fixed it.
Thank you.
All right. So let me,
Thanks.
yeah, I'm good. Okay. So you get an error message for Mickey Mouse here, and it says that the client ID is already in the database, and then so that's kind of the error message, right? It's like, okay, here's the problem. We already have this client, and then you get these things called the details, right? And it says Mouse-Mickey, which is his last name and first name, as it is in MOTS. So these details are giving you information on what is currently in the MOTS system for this client. So that way we can look at this information and kind of try to figure out, okay, what's different between this information here and what's going on with the client in my system, or possibly even your extract that's sending the data to us, out of your system to MOTS. So, it's like we can't figure out why it's getting rejected because, again, it seemed to be the same as the one that was sent before. In this example back in January for Mickey came in. And then, basically me as the, example provider, I'd be like, my system shows that Mickey discharged at the end of January, and I just need some help because I can't quite, figure out what's going on, which is completely reasonable. So what we found is by looking at the information in the error message that was there for Mickey and looking at and confirming with what was in the system for the EHR system for Mickey, we found that the date of birth in our EHR system is 1/1 of 1957, but the EDI file had, yes, basically Mickey's birth date should have been 1/10 of 57, but I think I typed this backwards, so I'm probably going to confuse everybody because I'm confusing myself. Anyways, so Mickey's birth date should have been 1/10 of 57, but MOTS had it as 1/1 of 1957. So we can see that there's a discrepancy between the day of the month for Mickey's birthday. What you kind of want to look at here, when you kind of like, okay, how do I determine what's correct? Because basically this means that MOTS' information that we have is not in alignment for what was sent for the client. And typically it is the last name at birth that's different, or it's the birth date in this example here. So what you do is you determine, is your EHR system correct? Because a lot of times we know folks come in, they have a crisis, they come in and they give you some information, but maybe when they actually have engaged in services and they're having some follow-up sessions, they're like, oh, hey, my last name at birth is actually, Elmer Fudd versus Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? Because they're like, they just maybe somebody has their married name they gave originally, and they want their one. So if that's been what's happened in your system, the last name at birth has been updated, or the date of birth was corrected from either a mistype or a birth certificate verification, then we have a MOTS data correction form. And what you do is you obtain one from us or our website, and you fill it out for the ones that you need change, for the clients you need changes done on, and you send it to MOTS support, and you just ask for it to be updated. Usually when we get those, we know you want something changed, so we look at what you've put in the form to determine that. And then once MOTS support confirms that they've processed this change for you, you would resubmit the client, and the client should go through. So it's always good to remember that last names at birth, date of birth, and admission dates are things that we change for you in the MOTS system. They're not something that your EHR can just update and send to us. So there's usually an alignment issue there. But results files, super important, because some of these, like this error message, when it says details, that should be what is in MOTS, and you can kind of check that against what you have currently in your system. So I hope everybody was able to follow along with that. I felt like I had a little bit of a confusion there, but hopefully that made some sense. Results files are just super important, and anytime you need help with them, reach out to me. And if I'm not available, others will help, and we'll figure out a way to make sense of it for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jody. Yes. Yeah. You jumped the back and forth between last name at birth and date of birth and stuff like that. That's okay. Well, if somebody has a problem, they know where to find you and they'll sort it out. So okay. Excellent. Okay. Next item on the agenda is needs data from MOTS. Anna, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Anna. I'm pretty new to the team. I've been on the team for about 4 months now. But I am kind of taking over Justin's previous role as the MOTS report specialist. So you likely get monthly reports like the ones on this slide automatically sent to you from us. But you can also reach out to MOTS support if you want to get any specific data, or you want to see a specific report that you don't already get. We're happy to help. So you can send an email to MOTS support letting us know what you need, and we'll help you out. Back to you, Pete.
Excellent. Thanks, Anna. Okay, that means it is back to Jody again, EDI troubleshooting. A little more about EDI issues that you can have on the file or the connection or any of that stuff. So go ahead, Jody.
Wow.
It's the Jody show. It's EDI today. So
it's the file. I think it's the file webinar on files and processing, which is important because it's something that affects all of us. So, so these kind of probably build on each other, just because with the EDI troubleshooting, it's important that one, you can connect to the SFTP and send and receive files, and then two, it's good that you're able to look at the results files and interpret the errors and understand what they're talking to you or what they're trying to tell you in their cryptic language. So when you are doing just basic troubleshooting, one of the things that is kind of important to this whole thing is to sometimes you need to kind of look at the file itself. So some of you may be familiar with the actual file. It is something that your system creates for you. Credible has an area in their export tool. CareLogic has a spot called the State Reporting Administration reporting thing. But this is where you actually give date ranges. You do whatever your processes are. You may not do date ranges, but you create your file, the actual client information that comes out of your system that you've been working so hard to fill in. and that then gets submitted to MOTS in order to process. So sometimes you got to look at the file and locate the client's submission, and maybe even find the field that that information should have been sent in, and then to double check if that's accurate. Now, some of you may not be familiar with looking at the actual file and the layout, and that is completely fine and understandable. If that's the case, let us know, and we can set up a time to go over this with you. What we found is sometimes you will, like I've been working with a provider, and right now we had an issue where it was the legal status has the information in the EHR, but what's actually coming through in the file is slightly different. Sometimes it's just a mapping issue or something's populating, but you don't see that because it's on the front end looking correct, but in the actual file and the conversions that's happened sometimes for fields and for MOTS, it's just a little out of alignment. So some EHRs send their files automatically. I did mention Dr. Cog, because they just send it to the SFTP, but so sometimes when that happens, you never probably see the files themselves. In this case, once we're notified, we can assist you in looking this up. There is a feature within that system that will allow you to preview it. But it's just often this will require a conversation with your EHR vendor to determine kind of the best fix, like the one that I've been working with. We're going to be talking to them to say, hey, like we just see this is out of alignment, and then they'll fix it. So yeah, it's just sometimes the file itself is important that we have to look at, and if you've communicated to us like, hey, I'm having this problem, I need some help, then sometimes when we ask you, like, can we get a copy of the actual file, or if you can give us the file name, it helps us, because that's one of the things I do. I go in and kind of start looking at the file itself and trying to help figure out what's going on. I saw something pop up in the chat. Sorry, scroll moment. So yeah, there's just a lot of moving pieces to it. But the one thing that is good, is a lot of what you're doing today, as we move into the roads, is going to be the same, if not exactly the same. So knowing these processes and knowing how this works will be great at this base level if you are new, because as we go into the road system, a lot will be similar, and there will be some things that get refined and made lots better. So with that, Pete, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Excellent.
Unless I need
Thank
to
you.
answer that chat thing.
It is just Thomas letting us know that they have tools to look at the information for Dr. Cloud. So they have special tools.
Yep. There's a little preview button that you can. It's kind of cool. I did that the other day with an organization that was meeting with me. That's new.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah, they all have something kind of. So you just got to find it. So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Jody, you can take a drink of water and catch your breath, because the next one is for Kayla.
I might not need any more coffee, it seems to say.
Nope.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Pete. So I just wanted to bring up the MOTS refresher. I've found the last, handful of months that I've been the MOTS system administrator, we've had a number of new agencies come up, or a number of people at current agencies in MOTS that are, getting assigned this responsibility for the first time. And before, we were setting up individual meetings with folks to help people work through learn about MOTS, maybe see the CE side of it, or the client entry side of it, how to enter a client, what the platform looks like. And since we were getting multiple a month, I thought it might be helpful for folks to know that they can attend every month, because if you're anything like me, seeing it once is nice, but I might not remember everything or be able to regurgitate exactly what I heard. But if I see it again, it becomes more familiar and therefore less scary. So the MOTS refresher will really provide some background that I think I know I don't always share with providers, because I'm in the MOTS world every day, and so I understand the requirements and why MOTS exists and why it's important to us at the state. But folks might not know that. And so we kind of go through why MOTS exists. What is it there for? What is the purpose of the data that we're collecting? Who do we send it to? Those types of questions I find are nice to give people a why instead of just assuming this is what we do. There's kind of, some background there that helps people understand the big picture. So we go through a little bit of that. We also do a little demonstration. I'll submit a client through client entry. And then we've also just a couple weeks ago, we're discussing maybe adding some EDI, intro to EDI pieces to the Welcome to MOTS event so that even EDI folks can get something out of it. If you have somebody new on your team or somebody at your agency that's newly responsible for this role, that they might get something for them too. And we have yet to add that to it, but Jody mentioned that might be a good idea, and I agreed. And so that will be on the next webinar or event that is next week. I did put that registration link in the chat. If you scroll up a little bit, it just says next Welcome to MOTS event registration link for next week. And then I also wanted to let folks know that if I'm going to put it in the chat right here, the web page for our webinars for 2023. Because I know there are some folks that might get lost. The invite, the registration link might not be able to find it. So I just want to make sure that you have that page so that if you don't get the MOTS Messenger, or if it was like this month where I wasn't able to send out the MOTS Messenger as early as I would have hoped, that folks can still access that registration link to get that invite. And just like many folks did yesterday and this morning, if you don't get that confirmation email with the link, let us know and I will send it out like I did this morning until I figure out what's going on with that, because I want to make sure that people can access the webinar. So all the links are in the chat now. So that I'm not going to click that because that's not going to take us anywhere helpful. But I will hand it back over to Pete and Jody to send us through to the next few slides.
Thank you, Kayla. I just had a thought that when you start talking about EDI, it might be helpful that the individuals that are joining the presentation, that they let us know which organization they work for and which EHR they are using. Because then Jody can maybe fine-tune the information focusing on that particular system, because all systems are a little different. They all work a little different. They all have some other responsibilities, business processes and stuff like that. So that might be helpful, because to put everything on there might be a bit much. So maybe one EHR at a time or one or two EHRs. It helps, I think, us to focus and give more precise and more accurate information for the individual attending that refresher. Just a thought. Okay, then it's back to Jody again, switching from CE to EDI. Go ahead, Jody.
All right, thanks, Pete. And yeah, just to add to what Pete was saying, real quick, for the MOTS refresher for the EDI, one of the things we were thinking of doing is just kind of hitting some high-level stuff. And really the part that Kayla mentioned of the how and why and the big picture is what's been really, really great for folks, because sometimes staff don't understand the bigger picture. And when they do, it's kind of like, oh, wow, I'm such really, you folks are all just a huge important part to this whole care that's given to our Oregonians and what's going on. And so that piece of it is super. So we were thinking of putting those things kind of, if I do add some in up front, so that if you could join the first part and then drop off if you had things that you were needing to do that wasn't as relevant. So anyway, sign up. The next one will be our first one out of the gate, so you can get to experience it with us. Anyhow, switching from we have it here switching from CE to EDI, but this is pretty much basically if you're switching from one electronic health record system to another, or if you are going from client entry to electronic data submissions, there's a few things that we found are super helpful. A lot of you probably could recite this by heart that have been here for many years, but first thing of importance, as in anything, is notification of change. Communicate to us that you're thinking of changing or you are changing. That helps us to get on the radar and kind of prep ourselves up for when it might be coming, put a tickler on our calendars for a reminder, things like that. The electronic health records and the MOTS functionality, as we've kind of said here throughout this presentation, there's many different ways to accomplish the same thing. It's, it's kind of like Microsoft. You got like 5 ways you can copy and paste and insert, and there's no one right way that's better than another. There's just differences. So some might prefer to do this, others do that. And that's kind of with the MOTS functionality. When you're looking at systems, we've gotten this feedback from providers that it's helpful to actually ask, what is the business process for the functionality in the system that you're going to be using or ones that you're looking at. How does this process and functionality work from the time maybe my client walks in the door to when I actually get my file sent off to the MOTS system? How much staff time will be required and who's going to do what? Many times there's a myth that once you go to EDI that everything's automatic, and as in some cases it gets close, but there's always still some human intervention that needs to be done to kind of help facilitate and orchestrate things at your organization. So it's good to know that going into it, kind of how much is going to be required. And again, there is no one way that is better. There are just differences in how things work. So the number 3, I'm glad the numbers are back. I was missing those last time or two. So number 3, project timing. This is really important because you might be on a fast track, like you want to be live in 30 days or your go live is in 30 days, and we need to kind of ramp our, processes up to make sure we can hit your benchmarks if possible. And if we can, at least to let you know. You might also be on a, 2-year plan, which is great. You can get us involved early. You can have us involved as much or as little as you want with your process that makes sense for you. Then we talk about the process for switching your data submission, and this would be if you are currently using client entry and go into EDI. If you are already EDI, we basically talk about how your files are going to come in from one to the other, and the fact that you will still be doing some certification with your new system. The secure file transfer protocol, if you're client entry, we're going to need to set one up. If you're already EDI, which would be ideal, then you're going to continue to use the same login, access point, and passwords for your organization, which is also going to be, we're working to keep it the same for roads, so we should not need to have reassigned ones or new passwords or all that kind of stuff. So I'm super excited about that piece. Number 6, anytime you're switching systems or going from client entry to EDI, we talk about your client IDs, because if those are going to be changing or being updated to something else that'll be coming through, we help you with getting those changed in MOTS, so they're in alignment. Define your business processes. This is just something you can do at the provider level that might be helpful. Number 8, we're going to test your files. Even if you purchase or you decide to go with a system that is already certified for MOTS, we will be certifying at the provider level, because with customizations and all the different setups for different workflows, we want to make sure that everything is mapped through correctly. Some of those things we talked about coming through on your files, making sure everything's the way it needs to be. We're going to go live, which means you've gotten through testing. You can send us live files now. And then we're going to do some follow-up. And the follow-up tends to be super helpful. It can be weekly, monthly, whatever the cadence is that it needs to be for where we're at in that point. But this is kind of align with you, myself, and someone else, maybe on your EHR or however it works. But we can actually then look at what's going on with your live files and maybe answer questions about errors or, just different things that are going on. So that kind of ends up being at the discretion of you all and your project and kind of what assistance you would need or like. We've been doing this for quite a while, so it's a fairly well-oiled plan at the moment, how it works. So if you're thinking of changing or doing things up, even if you're updating from one platform to another with your existing system, sometimes that requires like a little bit of a go into a new system. Just let us know, and we'll be here to help you. Okay, Pete.
Excellent. Thank you, Jody. Yeah, I saw another question about the links, and Kayla put one more link to the registration site on the Compass website. So if you scroll back in your chat, go up a little bit, and you'll see that there's a link where it says register here for all the webinars. And then underneath, if you scroll down, you'll see the recordings that we do of our webinars, the client entry and the webinar EDI, and they're 1 or 2 were missed. So we currently have the February one out there and the one from November from last year. So hopefully pretty soon the 2.1 will be updated, and then next month hopefully the CE one will be working properly again. So okay, Q&A. Are there any more questions, answers that we didn't get to, or that we missed, or did somebody from the team spotted something that we didn't talk about? Please let me know. As I mentioned, the recording will be out on our website. It usually takes a day or two. They're pretty quick with that. So any messengers, newsletters, they're all out there as well. As you can see if you go to our website where those links are, it shows webinars and newsletters. And if you scroll, you'll see all that information. So the next webinar focusing on the client entry tool, the portal, and will occur on the next Wednesday of April, and which will be the 5th, and we start at 9 o'clock sharp. We used to do classroom training. Sorry, go ahead, Jody.
No, I'll let you finish, and just I have one thing to add when you're done. Sorry.
Okay. And we, in the good old days, well, before the pandemic, we used to do classroom trainings, and Kayla came with a very good idea to do the MOTS refresher and just have that available. We become more and more comfortable with working virtually. I always enjoyed the classroom trainings, and was always a good excuse for people to get out of the house and meet some other people live. But the refresher works, and you get to know people. So they're still canceled, and until further notice. And I have no idea if they are if they will be coming back. And but maybe for the roads new system, it might be helpful to set something up like that so people can actually come and focus several hours away from everything else, away from your phone, your email, your text and everything. So to actually be in a classroom and focus on the new system. So I'm not seeing any questions pop up. So thank you all for joining.
Yeah,
and as you can see,
hey,
go ahead.
Pete.
Yes.
I just wanted to say for any of, that's okay. One thing we didn't connect, or excuse me, we didn't talk about specifically, but in relationship to roads and the EDI specifications and documents and kind of what's going on, we have been keeping in touch with the EHRs and others, but please feel free to reach out to myself and Kayla so we can get any of your questions answered. This is a real transparent process. You're all part of it. So if you feel like you're wondering, or you've got something, you're not sure when things are going to be coming out, or you want to see if we've updated or we have a date, let us know, and we will make time for you and get your questions answered and get any input you have. Just wanted to throw that out there last bit, and I promise I'll be quiet now.
Excellent. Thank you, Jody. And next month, I'm pretty sure we will have Anna on the list of team, and maybe we'll leave Justin on there for a while because everybody is very familiar, but then we can add Anna to the team. So, okay. Any questions? Anything I missed? Not seeing anything, not hearing anything. Jody, thank you very much for all your information, because it was definitely the Jody Kramer show today, and I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. And we'll be doing this again next month, as I said, April the 5th. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.